Likutei Torah, Parshas Tzav, page 32, in middle of the first column. Okay, now the Rebbe is explaining what the pasuk says, that the Hayom Rav Hayonis, the sea saw and ran away, and the mountains danced. So the Shalach Kodesh explains, running away is a level of yira, fear, and dancing is a level of simcha, which is ava. He said that's the two levels of ben and eved. And he explains that, he says we need to understand Shvi Shel Pesach, which is Kriyas Yamsuf, the birth of the Neshamas. So he says like this, Neshamas come from a very lofty place. They come from the level of Yud Kei Vav Kei Atzilus. But for them, in order to come down into the world of Bria, to come into a body, they have to go through this parsa. And this parsa, he starts explaining, is the level of Yam. Because Yabosh is revelation, everything is revealed. Yam is a concealment. And he says, that's the level of Malchus, which is the garment, because Ein Melech B'lo Yam, in order to be a king, you need foreigners. That means people that in their essence are not bottled to the king because they don't feel the king and they accept it upon himself. Okay. So we're in middle of first column of 32, even where the second column starts Vahinif. So he says, they said just say by the sun. The rays exist where the sun isn't, because if they're in the sun, they would be completely bottled. The same thing, if Gashmis would feel Elokus, they would be completely bottled. So Gashmis Amisavim, therefore the same thing, Gashmis that would be created, Hoya would be completely bottled to the source, which is Ruchni Samahavim, V'yes Liyes Metzia Neshama Malach, which are Bechinos Nefrodim, and therefore if they would be completely bottled, you couldn't have a Neshama, you couldn't have a Malach, all you would have is Elokus. Rak Shein Ba'av, Elok She'ein, Elokus Begilui. B'riyah Mamish, when there's no Elokus revealed. Not that it's not there, it's not revealed. The hell investors, where does this concealment come? That allows the Gashmis or the Ruchnis, that matter, to be something that's that's bottled. He says, Elok Shein Elokus v'helim v'hestezeh, they are Malchus. Okay? The concealment from one world to the next world, it goes to Malchus. Kizeh Klav Gadol, this is a big rule. Shal Malchus v'gerdamis liyas bechinas yesh kanal. Malchus is what causes yesh to exist. And therefore Hashem created the world with Dibur, which is a level of Malchus, because the king rules the country with speech. Therefore, Malchus is called the lower level of Bina. There's a higher level of Bina, which is intellectual. Malchus is called in Kabbalah Eimatata, or Matronusa, the queen. Eimabonim, the mother of the children, meaning the source of the Midas, like it says in Sefer Shabbat B'Shem Azayim. Therefore, the neshama, before it comes into the world of Bria, is concealed. That's called the level of pregnancy, where the fetus is there, but it's concealed. Then you have the birth. Shmini Atzeres, he said, the Zohar says, is the birth, not Shmini Atzeres. Shvi Shel Pesach is the birth of neshamis. Ki b'Shmini Atzeres, Eimin Merid HaGeshem. Shmini Atzeres, we bench Geshem when we start saying Merid HaGeshem. Nimshochem HaNeshamis Berachma Nukva. Then the Neshamis, when you say Merid HaGeshem, then that is the causing the pregnancy state. V'Shayim Sham Zayin Chadashim. And then the Neshamis wait there for 7 months until Pesach, which is Mana Leda, which is the time of the birth. So Shmini Atzeres is Merid HaGeshem, it starts coming down into the pregnancy state. The Neshamas are pregnant for 7 months. And then they're born, like the Zohar says, that Shvi Shel Pesach is the birth of the Neshamas. It's interesting, I don't remember where it is, but there's a order from the Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe was born Chayelo. right? The Alter Rebbe was born Chayel. 9 months before Chayel is Yutis Kislev. But the Rebbe asked, that year the Alter Rebbe was born was a leap year. So l'chayr it is 10 months, 2 others. So he answered, it doesn't Kabbalah, there's certain neshamas that need a longer, whatever. It's a neshama thing, not the, it has to be in 10 months. If you think about it, the same thing, 9 months before your Aleph Nisan is your Beis Tammuz. And that year was also a leap year, when the year the Rebbe was born. Okay, anyway. Al derech Moshe begashmis, shaliis liyis isavis muhus vlad min atipa. Just like in order to create a baby from the seed of the father, because a baby could be born after 7 and after 9. The last 2 months basically is the hair and the nails, the external things are developing. By eating and drinking what the Gemara says. What the mother eats and drinks, comes chayis into the baby, so just like in a physical sense, the tipa comes into the woman, it needs to wait 7 months at least until the baby is born. The same thing with neshamas of Atzilus. Neshamas of Atzilus need to wait in Malchus from Shmini Atzeres until Pesach, which is 7 Chadashim, Kacha Neshama Atzilus, which is the level of Ayin. How does an ayin, bittul of Atzilus, come into a yesh in Bria? By keeping in the... Now Malchus is also feminine. Zohar is masculine, Malchus is feminine. Chochmah is masculine, Bina is feminine. Malchus is the lower level of Bina. So Malchus is feminine. So the tipa, so to speak, comes into Malchus, the nukva, the woman, and it waits there 7 months, and then it comes born on Shvisha Pesach. Therefore, therefore, the Zohar says, the Zohar thinks, no, Priyatz Chaim, I'm sorry. The Arizal writes that Shvisha Pesach is the birth of the neshamas. It has to go through a pregnancy state, which is a concealment level, and then it becomes begilui. He says, no. Yeah. The Indian is in order for there to be birth, the opening of the womb, in order for the neshama to be born, meaning it comes out of the level of Helam of Malchus, which it takes the level of Atzilus, conceals it, and therefore the neshama can now come as a yesh in the world of Bria. It has to come from a level higher than Ishtalshalas. Because again, you're combining Gilui and Helam together. That's what the Pasuk says. Hashem let the wind was there a whole night. Because in the chain from Seichel into Midas, because again, if it's ayin, it's ayin. If it's yesh, it's yesh. So you can't make yesh into ayin, because if yesh is existing, it's identified as yesh, you can't make what you're not. So how do you make yesh mi ayin? You have to be mamshich a level higher than the yesh, higher than the ayin, and therefore you can make yesh into ayin. Like we learned all these different things. Through the Gilui of Sefer, which is Ma'akev Labiyah, which is higher than Atzilus, Shakulim Shavim Kamei. So therefore, that's the Inyan Ruach Kadim. Kadim means Kadmeinu Shaleilam. Higher Kadim, higher than the world, before the world. So what happened by Kiryas Yamsuf, that the Yesh became Ayin, am I saying really? The ayin became yam became yabasha. There was the gilui, the birth from concealment to revelation. That had to be through ruach kodem azor kol halayla. That's why Kriyas Yamsuf is a gilui of all the way up there, because it has to combine two opposites of yam and yabasha, or gilui and helam. So it had to be a great gilui. Shaydei zoyer Kriyas Yamsuf. That caused Kriyas Yamsuf. Why? Because concealment of the Yam Malchus, that's a level of ishtalshlus, because that's already defined as it's defined as a certain level. But through the gilui, higher than ishtalshlus, higher than Yam, higher than Yabosha, he was able to make Yam into Yabosha. Like we learned, in order to combine Ruchnius and Gashmius, you got to be higher than both. To combine light and dark, you have to be higher than both. You want to combine Ness and Teva, miracle, nature, you have to be higher than both. So that's what happened at Kriyas Yamsuf. And that caused the birth of the Neshamas, meaning the Gilui of the Neshamas of Atzilus coming into Biyah, B'riyat Tzir Nasiya, and eventually being born. And that.
So the stops make a sadik, and a non-sadik neshama, non-sadik.
Correct.
This stop.
Through the worlds. And that's why. To the next one, to the next one.
You go on the same way, or you could jump?
You jump. Because a mitzvah is connected to the essence of Hashem. So you don't go up, you go way up. And that's what it says in the Zohar, Matitzekelai, and the pasuk, Moshe Ben, it's going on by Kriyas Yamsuf. Hashem said to him, Matitzekel, why are you crying? Daber al b'nei Yisrael, let him go. Yeah? So there's everybody asks the question, according to Torah, if you have a problem, what do? You daven. It's a biblical mitzvah to daven. Yeah? The Jews at Kriyas Yamsuf are faced with a dilemma. There's a sea in front of them. There's the Egyptians behind them. There's nowhere to go. So what does the Jew do? You daven. Right? You could what?
Sit.
And do nothing.
Yeah.
That's not what a Jew is supposed to do according to Torah. So Hashem says to me, why are you crying? Why are you davening? What do you mean, why am I davening? Because that's what the Jew is supposed to do. So the Zohar says, batika talya milsa. It's totally an atik. In other words, it says in the Zohar, in this pasuk, that there comes a time, this is what Hashem told Moshe Ben Kriyas Yamsuf. Davening is worthless. It's not over here dependent on davening. It's depending on atik. There's a gilui that has to come from above. Gilui that has to come above, which is higher than davening. Davening only reaches to a certain level.
How do you reach that level? That's from Shamayim?
That's from Shemayim. Yeah. It says, V'atem tacharishon, right? Hashem yilochem lechem v'atem tacharishon. Okay, it answers the four groups that were there, right? But the Zohar says in Atem Tachrishin, there's a time when it says just don't daven, just be quiet. Davening is not going to do anything.
How do we determine when that time is?
That's not that problem. We have to daven. Hashem determines what has to be.
So that comes down, what, lefi mazal, lefi zechut, lefi...
I don't know.
Meant to be.
It had to come again by Yom Hashem, a gili from above, Matitzekelai. Batika Talya Milsa. It's not totally in you, it's totally in a gili of Atik. That's what Hashem told Moshe Rabbi. But now, when you learn this, everything makes so much more sense in the psukim than otherwise.
So there is mazal for it.
Huh?
This is mazal.
No. This is higher than mazel. Mazel's in the Bria, wherever.
Yeah. Thinking of it is like somebody who has, what is the difference between one that gets it and the other one that doesn't? Or one nation that gets it and one nation that doesn't?
But it says Ein Mazel Yisrael. So it doesn't mean Ein Mazel Yisrael, there is no Mazel. It means Jews are not bound by Mazel. Or, as Chassidus explains, it's not Ein Mazel Yisrael, Ayin Mazel Yisrael. The level of Ayin, which is Keser, Chassidus Yesh Miyayin. Ayin, which is, that's the Mazel of Yid, meaning the Yid and the Batik, tell you mills. It's not in the Mazel of the Jew.
So if you don't have,
In other words, why do you, if Ein Mazel Yisrael, if Jews don't have Mazel, why do you say Mazel Tov? Somebody asks the Simcha, you say Mazel Tov. What do you mean? Ein Mazel Yisrael. Doesn't mean Ein Mazel Yisrael. Jews are not bound by Mazel. A Jew can change Mazel. A Jew can change Mazel. Because they can.
if you don't have it and if you don't study Torah and you don't do mitzvot, what do? Stop.
Sometimes like it says, yeah, shtoik, shut up and let God handle the situation.
Or like stay out of the way.
Like they say, just don't get in the way. Okay. They Chassidim used to ask, I'm talking about real Chassidim, they used to write to their Rebbes, I know I can't do it. Hashem, give me a bracha, shouldn't get in the way of what the Rebbe wants to accomplish, what the Eibishter wants to accomplish. Just, I shouldn't be in the way. That also helps. I was talking to somebody in the mikveh today. Going away, so I said to him, we're talking about cooking in the kitchen, whatever. I said, my help with cooking in the kitchen is I get out of it. Get away from the kitchen. That's my help. I don't get in the way. At least don't get in the way. You know what you want to do, just get out of the way. So he says, then the mountains can dance. Like he said, that's the Gilu of Abba. He says, Hodem is Chesed Gvura Teferes. Gvuris is Chesed Gvura Teferes de Bria or Netzachai Yisayr of Atzilus. Two opinions. Okay? So mountains, and then Gvuris is the peaks. You have mountains and peaks. Mountains are higher than peaks. So Harim is the level of Chesed Gvura. Gvuris is either Chesed Gvura Teferes de Bria or Nihiyah Netzachai Yisayr of Atzilus. Because they're higher than the level of Yam, which is Malchus. When there was this Gili of Seviv by Kriyas Yamsuf, they became bottled like a candle in the eyes, in the presence of a torch. Hainu sha'ed is the tikkun. Hamis mlubashim bekelim. The eris of tikkun that came into the kelim, nistalkum and akelim left the kelim, and he came back into the gili of the tail. Meaning, that's the level of dancing, because they felt that gilui of Kriyas Yamsuf.
Is this related to the mountain that, the level of Makifim that Hashem kept on top of the Jews?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of the era.
Over there, it caused Gira. But it could cause Ava too.
Yeah.
If mountains are Chesed Gvura Teferes, yeah, it's Ava and Gira. But that's it. Why do you say Harim Agois? Hayam Rav Ayonos, Yardin Kisav Lachar, Harim Tiktu Cha'edim, the voice, they dance the peaks, give Neitzay. It's dancing. Dancing is a form of bittul.
So not only is Makifim,
Correct. V'agam shegam midei Shabbos b'Shabbat yesh aliyas ha'elamis. He says, what happened to Kriyas Yamsuf? There was this super gili from above. So he said, every Shabbos and Yom Tov, there's Shabbat, there's Aliyah Ha'elamis. Because again, Hashem stopped speaking, so Malchus went back up instead of going down into Bria. But he says, and therefore it's called Hiluch. Therefore it's called only walking. Walking is gradual. Avorikud, when you're dancing, your feet are off the ground. That's Aliyah G'dei L'Shlei B'Adraga Klau, which is the level of Sefer Kolam. So he's saying the level of Kriyas Yamsuf wasn't an Aliyah Elamis like Shabbos and Yom Tov, that it's a little bit higher. This is a jumping higher. Dancing is jumping higher. There's still come Pesach, the first days, the last days. It's all a level of Simcha. The Rebbe says, Shvisha Pesach, you don't make Shechianu. So Allah, because it's not a separate Yom Tov. Right? Shmini Atzeres is a separate Yom Tov, make Shechianu. And Shvisha Pesach, Halacha says you don't make a Shechianu because that's one continuation of Pesach, it's not a separate Yom Tov. So the Rebbe explains a deeper reason. Because Shechianu you have to make intangible Simcha. Shvi and Achron Shel Pesach is the Gilui Mashiach, it's not tangible yet. We don't feel it yet, so you can't make a Shechianu. Shechianu you can only make on something tangible. Avaladiko b'dancing is Aliyah G'dela, Shlei B'Adraga Klau, which is not all on the same level, it's like a little bit, Haino Sefer Kanal, Ke'elim, like rams, She'ein Bohem Das, that have no sefer, they're animals, right? There's no, what's the source of something which is lower than Das? Higher than Das. The source of, in other words, if there's Das, it can't. So, no Das, the source of it is like the Shtus. You have Shtus of evil, Shtus of Kedusha. What's the source of Shtus of evil? Shtus of Kedusha. Right? The foolishness in Kedusha. So, how do you combat Shtus of evil through Shtus of Kedusha? Huh? Yeah, the swing states in the votes. Ava Yam Sefer the Chol Dargan. But the Yam, which is the lack of the lowest of levels, or Ma'usharo, Gilear, Sefer, they couldn't be part of it. Like a Ha'odim, which is Mailim, therefore it ran away in the level of Yirah. In other words, the Ha'odim, the higher levels, they're able to handle it with Bittul. But this is a completely low level, the Yam, which is concealment, can't handle Gilui, so therefore it had to run away, so to speak, it was completely bottom. That's the difference between Simcha of Eharim Tirkadu, the mountains dance, and the Yam and Avayon is Abba and Yira. He says like this, by a person from Seichel comes into Midas into Dibur. Sometimes you just say, you're shocked, you're silent. He says, then as I nifsak adiba b'ishtik, then you have to stop talking. That's what he explains. Moshe Rabbeinu was kvad peh. Moshe Rabbeinu had a problem with speaking. Because Moshe Rabbeinu was the level min amayim mishisihu. Moshe Rabbeinu comes from Almas Timor, the hidden worlds. Dibur is a revelation. So, or tefillah b'chashoy. He says, Yadam Shmonas, you have to do it quietly. Why quietly? Because it's a higher level of, higher than Dibur.
Is this the level that when Moshe Rabbeinu not complained, but debated with Hashem why Tzaddikim were being burned, Rabbi Akiva, and Hashem said,
Shtei kachal machshav.
yeah.
No?
Is this it? Is this?
Exactly it. Shteik kacholim machshava. It's bittul. You're not shaykh to understand it. They said, how could you do such a thing? So some said, shteik. It didn't tell the person, Drew, be quiet. Shteik, it's a level of shtik, it's a level of bittul you'll never understand. It's a level infinitely greater than world. You can't understand it. Shteik. Like by Kriyas Yamsa, Shem Ta'atim Tachadishim. Why? Because it's a gilui higher than the best from Sefer Kolam. You can't do it.